We always dread the flight home from vacation, but for nearly 300 people, their flight back from Costa Rica turned into a two-day odyssey after a head count left them stuck on the tarmac for hours.
Definitely not fly Air Canada again. I choose not to fly Air Canada for the most part.
Milton lawyer Pam Machado and her partner were two of the 273 people who found themselves stuck for 10 hours on the tarmac at San Jose, Costa Rica, after a passenger head count came up one short.
The entire time, the flight attendants were at the front of the plane, eating their own snacks and basically hiding behind the cover of the front of the plane.
Machado says they were offered only snacks and only allowed off after 5 hours. Air Canada issued this statement today about why it took so long. Quote, "The flight was a Boeing 767 with 273 passengers, so this all took some time. Unfortunately, due to the length of the delay, our crew ran over their legal duty day, meaning it could not operate, and the flight was finally canceled." Machado says at that point, Air Canada staff were of little help, and the only person who tried to explain anything was the captain. Now, Air Canada did put the passengers up in a hotel for the night, but today, Machado says it was a gong show back at the airport.
The check-in procedure was even more atrocious than the boarding procedure that occurred yesterday. They were herding us like cats. We were being moved from one end of the airport to the other.
The makeup flight, scheduled for 3 this afternoon, finally took off about 2.5 hours late. A frustrated Machado says the delay cost her and her partner dearly.
It's absolutely exhausting. I'm a lawyer. I've now missed a full day of work. My partner is a police officer who's supposed to be on a course, which he's likely going to miss.
Air Canada did pay for the hotel and provided food vouchers. And to try and sweeten the pot, quote, they said, "We are very sorry about this situation, and recognizing the inconvenience, we will be refunding the passengers for the return portion of the trip." So is that enough? No, says one airline passenger rights expert.
What Air Canada is certainly liable for legally are the expense of passengers, their damages, so if they lost their wages as a result, if they had to park their car for an additional day.
Dr. Gabor Lukács runs the Facebook group Air Passenger Rights. He says for Machado and the other passengers, they should write a business-like letter to Air Canada outlining their losses caused by the delays.
I wouldn't dwell on how bad it was or how angry they are, just be factual. I was on this flight, I was delayed for X many hours. As a result of the delay, I incurred expenses and losses as follows.
Lukács says if the airline rejects the letter, your next option is small claims court. Lukács says airlines can be on the hook for up to $8,000 in such expenses. Now, there have been attempts to create so-called flight rights, but Lukács says they have been defeated, although the Liberals are now looking at a new version. He says it needs to contain clear rules and stiff penalties for delays, cancellations, and bumping. Also, a public source for listing reasons for such delays and cancellations. And most importantly, teeth for the Canadian Transportation Agency to enforce new rules.
It looks impartially at the rights of the passengers and enforces those rights very vehemently and imposes hefty fines like the U.S. Department of Transportation does, which doles out fines to the tunes of millions of dollars.